Hello, I'm Kaylee Morgan and I'm a teacher at Gellifaelog Primary School in Merthyr Tydfil. I've been teaching in the school for 13 years and I'm currently teaching in a Year 1 and Year 2 mixed class. And I've taken part in the Sentence Builder project. So I'm just going to talk you through what we've done in terms of the project and the impact that it has had on the children and also our next steps as well. So just a bit of background information about the school. So the school's catchment area is in Pendarren in Merthyr Tydfil, and we experience high levels of deprivation that we found that can limit pupils' early exposure to rich language, books, just literacy experiences before even starting school. And as a result of this, many of our pupils within our school require targeted support to be able to develop the foundational reading, writing, oracy skills just needed to be able to access the curriculum confidently. We have 45% of children who are free school meals. As I've said, many pupils enter school below age-related expectations, and there's gaps, particularly in their communication, their language, and early literacy skills. So the rationale then for the project, we chose to take part in this literacy project, so using the sentence builders. We've recently used the sentence projects and builders within our Welsh language development, and we've seen the impact that had on our children. And when we were asked to take part in the literacy project, we just knew we had to do it because we'd seen the impact already with it being used within Welsh. So we took part in the literacy project using the sentence patterns as we hoped that it would address specific literacy needs for our pupils. Many children at Gellifaelog, as I said, enter school with skills below age-related expectations, and that's in reading, writing, sentence structure, and particularly in their communication and vocabulary. So by using the sentence builders, we hope the project would provide then structure and scaffold support that would help the children construct sentences more confidently, develop their grammar and punctuation skills, and in overall just improve their writing fluency. And we really hope the tools would also increase engagement and support pupils then to help kind of close that gap that we were seeing within their literacy attainment. So we obviously use our sentence builders to help support our writing, and the children are provided a structured framework that helps them to construct complete meaningful sentences. They model the correct word order, grammar, vocabulary, and it just reduces that cognitive load and allows children to focus on expressing their ideas. And the sentence builder support inclusion, so it enables all learners to be able to access them and their writing tasks more confidently. And over time then we found that this helped the children be able to build those sentence structures and develop greater independence and fluency within their writing. So what we do in our school is we start off with a lot of drilling. In our classroom, in the sentence builders, we use a lot of games that we teach the children, especially when it comes to vocabulary. We found that this was something that the children in our school really struggled with. So we recognise they come to school with not a wide variety of words, and this can make it difficult then for the children to be able to express themselves, understand others, and access the wider curriculum. So because of this, we place a strong focus then on explicitly teaching and repeatedly practicing new vocabulary. And one of the most effective ways that we found to do this is through the games, which allows us to just drill the vocabulary in ways that is engaging for the children, it's interactive, low pressure, and rather than them just simply hearing a word once, which is sometimes what they do, the pupils are exposed to it again and again, and in different contexts, and which we've seen really help move within their long-term memory. For example, when we, on the screen here, we've been teaching adjectives and descriptive writing, and many of the children who, when we first started the project, were using very, very basic vocabulary, things such as like big or nice. So we found that actually playing these games, we were introducing them to a range of new vocabulary through simple games that allow them then to practice those vocabularies that they can use then within their sentences. We also, other than just building on the vocabulary, we also do lots of modelling with the children. So again, through games, but this time we were holding full sentences. So using the new vocabulary that we'd originally done with them, using that then within their sentences. For example, we might use the elf is crunchy and round, and we'd often play a game then like Fireball, where I would model the sentence and then I'd ask the child to repeat that sentence back to me. And then we would do that for different children around the classroom. We'd also talk about the sentence as well, what adjectives we can see within the sentence, looking at punctuation and grammar, and overall looking how the sentence has been set up. And then this kind of activity we found really does support the vocabulary and spoken language skills. It encourages the children to listen carefully, remember the sentence and repeat it accurately, and just helping them become more confident with their new words and just being able to speak in full sentences. Because this is something else that we found with the children within our school and my class, was that sometimes the children didn't speak in full sentences. They would just give one word. So these type of games allowed the children to not only use the vocabulary that we have covered, but also to use it within the correct context and also to be able to speak in full sentences, because speaking in full sentences then helped them to be able to write in full sentences. So lots of these games really did help support the children within their writing. And just another game, this was more for our more able writers. We extended it further then through other activities. And this is just one example, and it's called delayed dictation. The children are shown a very simple sentence. Again, we talked about, what can you see in the sentence? Can you identify the noun? Can you identify the adjective? What does a sentence start with? What does it end with? And we just talked about the structure of the sentence. And then the children had a look at the sentence. They looked for where the adjective was, where the noun was, examples of like what the punctuation within the sentence was. And then we removed that off the screen, and then it allowed the children to write that sentence down on their board. This encouraged them to really think and focus on the vocabulary that was used, as well as the structure of the sentence, the spelling and the punctuation. And it also helped develop their working memory and just become more independent with their writing. And then we put it back up on the screen then, and it just allowed the children, they then edited the sentence themselves. If there was something they missed out, they had a go. And I think because they were editing their own writing, it helped them then when it came to doing their next sentence, because the things that they might have forgotten within this sentence, they would remember them when writing and constructing their own sentence the next time. So another really great game that helped children to kind of build on those sentence structures. And this is just some examples of a child's work within my classroom. So when we'd first talked about describing the elf during Christmas time, the vocabulary was very, very basic. We had just words like red, blue, big. So again, through all those games I just showed, we spent a lot of time looking at the vocabulary. Then we built up to building sentences, played lots of games where the children developed those sentences independently. And then, as you can see, the children were using different types of vocabulary in their writing. They were extending their sentences, giving reasons why. And you could just see here the progress that this particular child had made through at the start to the final piece of writing. And a lot of this was done independently because they'd had that time to kind of drill the vocabulary, lots of modelling, lots of games, lots of time to do these sentences independently. And then when it then transferred into their writing work, the children were much more independent with their writing because they'd had all those skills being taught previously, which helped them then support in their own writing. So for me, one of the biggest impact that we have seen in terms of our sentence builder project was how we use them within our cool time. So our cool time is our enhanced provision within our area, and cool time stands for choosing our own learning. So what we did was, in addition to the games that we've done and the vocabulary and the drilling, we started to incorporate the sentence builders into our enhanced provision. This gave the children opportunities to practice constructing sentences in a more self-directed, independent way outside the whole class teaching. So embedding the sentence builders into play and in the different areas within our classroom, the children could use them naturally then as part of their ongoing activities. And this approach also allowed the children to work at their own pace, revisit sentence structures that we previously did, and which helped consolidate their learning. It also encouraged explanation with their language. It gave them confidence and for them to take risks then and use words they perhaps wouldn't have used within their writing previously. And it just promoted a lot of independence in developing their speaking and writing skills. What I tend to do within my cool time as well. So when I've taught a genre of writing and we've moved on to a new genre, I still put in the previous sentence structures and builders that we had used previously in our writing journeys, just for the children to reinforce those skills they've learned previously and for them not to forget, because we talked about sometimes we might cover a genre of writing with the children or a writing journey, and they might not then revisit that writing journey, maybe sometime later in the year or even in the next class. And then sometimes the children would forget those skills that we've already practiced. So by allowing them time in cool time and in enhanced provision where they can practice those skills, even if it's not part of the writing journey that they're we're teaching with the children, they can still practice those skills and it's not kind of lost then. So when it comes to revisiting that genre, maybe later on in the year or in another class, because they've had opportunities to practice those skills within cool time, those type of skills, or vocabulary, the sentence structures that we've been learning is more embedded, which we've seen has been really effective practice within our school. And it just using the sentence builders in the enhanced provision provided to be a valuable bridge between the guided teaching that they did with myself and the independent language use. And it just helped children then transfer the vocabulary and skills they practice in a more structured game into their own kind of independent work then. And you could just see there's some examples. So the children, we were really pleased. We'd seen a real big rise in the amount of boys in particular who were no longer wanting to go in the construction and building area or the creative area. They actually enjoyed coming to the independent table where there was different varieties of sentence builders there that they could use in order to write their sentences independently. And again, I rotate that quite often, especially things that we've covered previously, like I said, just so they don't forget those skills. So the children then will have a go in the independent area and use the sentence structures, write their sentences. They are encouraged as well then to think of different vocabulary that we've used previously in their writing, and then the children take photos of their work and they upload that then onto their Seesaw account, so as evidence for myself and also then for their parents to be able to see what they're doing in that area when they go home. And you could just see another example here then where we did instructional writing, where the children went into the cool time area and they did that. And I'll just show you on the next slide where we kind of differentiate then the activities that are in the areas. So you can just see we colour code our sentence builders. So the children know that green is the one that's the easiest, and obviously it gets more challenging, orange and then red. Children are able to go and use any of the sentence structures. We don't kind of limit and say they're only allowed to do a certain one, but the children are really good at kind of picking one. And if they feel that it is a bit too challenging for them, they'll go down to the next colour. Or if they feel it's not challenging enough, then they'll obviously go up and challenge themselves a bit more. And this has really helped the children as well, because like I said, there's no limits then of only certain, our more able writers are able to access. Obviously, even our children who are perhaps just forming basic sentences, there's opportunities for them to be able to use the sentence builders as well. So, you know, everybody then is able to use them and progress in the way that best fits them. And then it's just some other examples where we'd kind of looked at adjectives. So they give them a sentence starter and they had to choose an adjective. My more able writers were choosing two adjectives then, and then obviously then the nouns at the end. So we did a lot of this work that I had taught them, and then this went out into cool time then when we moved on to a new writing genre, so they could just practice these skills they'd already been taught with myself in class. And I think just seeing the feedback from the children just speaks volumes about the project. I asked the children who I'd been working with in the group, you know, what they thought of the sentence structures, and just to give me honest feedback on how they felt. And the children had said things like, it helps me to know what to write. I know where the words go. The games are really fun. I can do it by myself. I don't get stuck, and the words help me make a sentence. And you know, all of these were feedback from the Year 2 children I had worked with in relation to using these sentence structures to help them within their focus tasks for myself or the independent tasks then that were in cool time. So I think that's really lovely to see that it has really had a positive impact on the children within my class. And then I think for next steps, so our next steps as a school, doing a staff meeting in the summer term, I'm going to be presenting the impact the sentence builders has had for the children within my class. I'm going to model some examples of how they were used within my teaching and learning, and just start by providing simple templates for teachers that can adapt. Then they can adapt by their own writing units. We've decided as a school to trial it with 3 teachers firstly. So myself, the Year 3 teacher and the Year 6 teacher are going to trial the sentence builders. We are then going to feed back to staff on our findings and how the sentence builders have helped support them within their lessons and with their learners. And then the other staff, so for example, the Year 1 teacher, the Year 4 and the Year 5 teacher, they are going to do drop-in sessions then and watch how the sentence structures and sentence builders are being used in the classroom of the teachers that are trialing them. And then they can take that back to their own classrooms then and try those and see how it works with them or how they can adapt it then to suit the needs of their learners within their class. And we're also going to monitor the impact of pupils' writing. So before the teacher's trial, we're going to collect some examples of the pupils' work before, and then obviously look at the impact then of the sentence builders after, and just gather pupil voices. Well, I think, you know, the children will speak for themselves and they'll tell you how they felt about them. So doing pupil voice, ask the children whether the strategies have helped them with their writing, what they've enjoyed. And I think it's really important then as we come together as a team to evaluate what has worked really well. And if there are things that need adapting, maybe to certain learners or certain classes, that we can do that then in order to move forward. But I think this project for myself has been a massive help, and I've really seen how it's helped my writers become more independent and just enjoy writing and just get a better understanding of what a sentence means and how they can construct their writing, whereas they weren't able to do that before. And I think just seeing the impact from the very start to the end project just shows how helpful it has been. Yeah, and I'm really pleased that I've come onto this project. I'm excited to take it back to school and just use it now across our school for all our learners and all our staff to use as well.